coreluv.org. That's CORELUV.org. Will you help defend the orphan?
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dance Time in Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floor. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776 with your question. Get seen on TV or YouTube and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Sponsor your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
An estimated 1 in 10 births will result in a neonatal intensive care stay, also known as the NICU. Overnight, a family can find themselves and their newborn baby in a critical situation. The Mila Foundation financially and spiritually assists families in need. If you would like to volunteer or become a monthly sponsor, please visit us at www.themilafoundation.org. Again, that's www.themilafoundation.org, because every life matters.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Statistics show that 1 out of every 6 Texans struggles with food insecurity and hunger. And many people don't eat enough fruits and vegetables every day. The Better Living for Texans program is here to help you learn how to make healthy menu choices, save money at the grocery store, prepare quick and delicious meals, get more good nutrition in your day, and get more physical activity. Classes are fun, friendly, interactive, and free, and taught in English and Spanish. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe.
And 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe. And worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Cindy Cochran Show. Finally, I'm back. It only took 6 years. I've been rehearsing a lot, and I'm ready to come back. And of course, I couldn't do it without someone like Richard. And Richard begged, please, Cindy, come back. We just need you so bad. Richard, is your mic on?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so anyway.
Now you can keep talking.
Yes, right. So anyway, we were supposed to be on yesterday as our first show, but Phyllis Ledbetter, their company had a bomb scare. And so I excused her, and I felt like bring a note from the boss, and it'll be fine. And she said she said, I will be there. I'll try and do it over the phone if you want me to. I went, no, that's okay. Just take care of your people. Get them all out. She said, that's what we're doing right now. It was terrible. I was like, I felt so bad. Like I had no sympathy for the fact that you had a bomb scare and you're trying to get all these people out of there. And I didn't want to hear that.
You were trying to figure out how to still do the show.
Yes. That's what, that's what.
Yeah, that's really bad. I'll pray for you later, but let's talk about the show.
The show must go on. Yeah. So anyway, so today to get this started, I've got the one and only, the great, the international, let me try and think about the.
I sent you an introduction that you could read. You were doing well.
Oh, okay. It was almost there. Okay.
Yeah.
I did.
Male model, muscular was in there several times.
Buffed up.
There you go.
Man, the picture that I have of you is when we were standing in front of at the old studio.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I put my arm around you and almost choked myself because I was like, good grief, you're so skinny.
I weighed 138.
Oh, to be
138.
To see those numbers on there. Okay, 138.
Well, Halloween was coming up, and I wanted to go as a skeleton, so I was getting really close to.
Oh my word!
My trick or treat weight. Yeah.
I felt like I wanted to get you a cheeseburger or something. It was just sad.
Well, I've had a few since then. So thanks for taking 6 years off, so I could go ahead and get all those cheeseburgers.
You look great. You
Well,
look good. I'm so proud of you, and I know that your wife has had a lot to do with that. And you've been married how long now?
We're coming up on 4 years.
But you have 5 boys?
We have 5 boys. We are quick. We do not waste time. Yeah, we hit the floor running.
Boys.
Yeah.
And I bet 2 of the names are Coulter and Xander.
Coulter and Xander. And right now Trent is listening and is like, I was closer to Cindy than
wait,
the
I
other
hadn't.
two.
Do
you want to take a stab at the third one? That's
yes,
mine.
okay. And Trent. And so
well done.
Thank you. I'm so
It
smooth.
saves me from doing cue
so
cards
smooth.
if I can just throw it in a conversation and you'll pick up on it.
Who was it that I couldn't remember? Coulter? Was it?
Me. It was me,
Bob.
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 Yeah.
I keep hitting the mic. I'm sorry. This is my first day back.
You're a professional.
I know.
And for the 2 listeners, we were getting ready to start, and I was like, okay, you're set, you're ready. Any butterflies? She was like, no, I'm good. I'm back into the professional mode. And then her phone goes off. It rings, which is a big no-no in the broadcasting world.
It is, and as long as I don't knock over this water, it's going to be really good. I'm trying to get it further away from me. But listen, you have been doing so much stuff, and you're all over YouTube. I mean, you go to put B in YouTube, and it comes up Bob Smiley, and everything you've ever done in your life. And so it's exciting because that's what I follow. I follow you on YouTube. I haven't done your Facebook. Is your Facebook page?
I'm super active on Facebook, Instagram. If listeners are sinners, I'm on TikTok. So, yeah, you can get me pretty much anywhere nowadays.
So you went on TikTok?
I did.
Oh,
I actually fought it for a
shame.
long time because it had this really bad reputation. And
Right.
I had a couple of friends that were comedians say, man, you really got to get on there. And and so I got an account and I was like, if something bad pops up, I'm immediately deleting it. And nothing bad popped up. And of course, whenever you set your profile, it's going to show you things that you're interested in.
Right.
So everything I said was about me being a Christian, about all this stuff. And so it was popping up. And so it's funny that I stayed off TikTok for the longest time. Some of the best sermons I've ever heard are from TikTok, like just guys putting little sermonette, and they're all under a minute. So all you pastors out there that are listening, take note. Like you can inspire people in under a minute.
Gig is up.
But some of the great, so I was like, okay, this might be okay. So I'll put a couple of things. And so I put a couple of comedy clips. I put a couple of just funny videos that me and the kids were shooting around the house. And I now have more followers on TikTok and more interaction and all that. And it really, TikTok, it's like anything else. It can be used for bad or it can be used for good. And right now I feel like I'm using it for good.
Well, let me confess. I've seen you on TikTok. Okay. and I like the interaction with the family. That's really good.
Yeah.
And so I just want to let you know that. But I mean, weren't you afraid though, if you put Christian comedian, the person getting ready to click on that goes, he's a what? And not do it? Do they come on just to see?
Well, here's what I get. I get the haters of, and by the way, I will be conducting a seminar later on broadcasting if you want to take that, Cindy. And Yeah, lesson one: leave the mic alone.
I talk with my hands and I keep hitting this.
You
this
were
mic.
hitting it like it's a step kid, and I can say that because I have two.
Oh yes, that's right.
So no, I want people to know up front, like, oh, it's going to be clean comedy, and I am a Christian, and I talk a lot about church and stuff like that. It's not, I'm not changing stuff from two guys walk into a bar to two disciples walk into a stable or anything like that. Like it's legit comedy that I can take into a comedy club and have, but it's clean, so everybody can listen to it. And I want people to know that. And what I'm finding is the people that are like, clean comedy's terrible, like, they want to go on because they want to troll or they want to hate on it.
Right.
And I've gotten a lot of people that have completely opposite views of mine, like, now are talking to me on there, and they're like, we love your comedy, don't agree with anything, your platform or any of that kind of stuff, and get that invisible God away from me, but your take on what Jesus was like as a kid is hilarious, and so it kind of takes away a couple of walls that are built up between me and other people, and we do get into some really good discussions, and so far there's not been there's been some hatred, and fights, and that's whenever I bow out. I'm like, I'm not gonna. I just let my the other people comment, and so I do sometimes post stuff, and then there'll be this whole war.
I bet they jump on.
And so I can just sit back and watch that. But for the most part, everybody's kind of been nice and like okay, I disagree with you, but this part was funny, and I've posted some stuff that have kind of been. I thought really dividing, and I've had people from the other side actually agree with me on topics. And we get into this discussion where everybody can sit and read it, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, there shouldn't be this big anger. There should just be discussion about stuff.
Exactly right. Well, because you get put in jail, Facebook jail, and things like that for doing the most minor things, and they're watching for that. I did. A friend of mine put on the Lord's Prayer. He typed it out, the Lord's Prayer, and they put him in jail for that. And I went, what? I was so angry at that. It was a very grace-filled anger, but it was so angry. I said, how could they do that to you? So I went on and I signed the Lord's Prayer, and I wanted to just dare him to take it down. And I didn't say it.
Great.
I didn't.
You just signed it.
I just signed it, and let it go. And so.
And for people that are tuning in, she does sign language. So at first, I don't want people to think you signed something at the bottom of a petition or something like that. Like
yes.
This is your first show. So let's catch up.
Okay. I've got a friend of mine that's looking for. I got to tell you this. Looking for the TV guide that misprinted Signing with Cindy as Sitting with Cindy. And I wanted to tell him about, how I know that was our largest audience group, but I think that he said he's going to try and find it. He is.
So they actually printed, instead of Signing with Cindy, which was your show.
SINNING.
Oh, sinning.
Yes, sinning.
I thought you said sitting. I thought people were pulling chairs up and getting ready to sit with you.
I think they were pulling chairs up close to the TV screen and going like, okay, so Cindy went from signing to sinning. I don't get it.
So people are running to specs, getting ready for your show. Like, hey, we're going to sin with Cindy.
Yeah, so it was, I'm sure, a disappointment to them because they kept waiting like, okay, so she's teaching sign. Okay, what's next? But anyway, that's what... I hope to find that, because that was just when I read it, I kept reading it over and over, and I went, "No, that's sinning. What could they have been thinking?"
I don't know. I watched your show because some of the old clips are on YouTube.
Yes,
some of those dance moves. I think you still
I got in
made
trouble for that. I got called.
I think the title was appropriate for some of those dance moves that were going on.
They started with one of them. That's true, but I got called to the elder's office about that, and that they had to watch. One preacher took all the Signing with Cindy tapes to camp because I said I can't go to the camp and teach this summer. So he took all the Signing with Cindy and starts playing the tapes, and he goes, "You didn't tell me they were full of dancing," and I had to tell them that wasn't she wasn't trying to teach y'all how to dance. It was supposed to be this. Anyway,
kids, the 70s were interesting. We were discovering a lot of pharmaceutical things.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right. So anyway, but let's get back to you.
Finally,
okay,
I was like, TikTok.
Don't get me
started. I'm parked in 2 hours. By the way, I am not going to say anything funnier on this show than whenever you called me and said, meet me at Conroe Towers, because it's a 2-story building. It is a 2-story building, and they call it Conroe Towers.
Well, I don't know.
And I think the second floor is a storage unit. Like, how in the world did they get by with calling this Conroe Towers? And you kept saying, just look for the Conroe Towers. I was like, Cindy, there's nothing. There's clouds. There's
the towers over anything. It is the tallest building, though.
Yeah.
And
well,
don't you think it's the tallest building?
Yeah, it's bigger than the barn next door. If that's what you mean. Yeah,
that's good. And the bridge and the, and everything goes from that. And I'm trying to give you directions. And if he found out I was trying to give you directions to get here.
Again, I feel like this is a teaching show now, but use the names for the streets as they're marked. You kept going, just 105. Just go up 105. There's no 105. It's Main or Davis or.
See,
it's not called 105.
Yeah, I forgot that it turned to West.
But you were
Davis. So just go across 105, and it's kind of close to that bridge
where the Walmart used to be.
Yeah,
years
you
ago.
remember that?
Yeah,
you
go
remember
up
that
there.
place? It was. Well, I thought you knew enough about Conroe. But you started laughing at Conroe Tower, and you said,
I was like,
"There's
no
towers."
Tower.
Okay. So if anybody comes to this place and you see Conroe Tower towering over,
it's 2 stories.
So it's 2 stories, and that's what they think in Conroe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't obstruct any of the view of anything.
No, you know why? Because there's no tower.
Okay,
that helps.
That's
so
right.
if you want to see what's around Conroe Towers, don't bring binoculars. You're good. Just stand up, and you can see everything.
Just stand up. Okay, there was a story you were going to tell about.
Back to me.
About me.
Because I do like learning things,
yes,
despite what my high school teachers will tell you. And when we would do the old show, which was in Conroe Flats, we would go to that studio, and you were always late by maybe 15, 20 hour long. And I remember one time you were late. You were again. We couldn't remember what you were doing, so I'm going to say scrapbooking.
Okay.
Or knitting or something that you do.
Yes.
And I got here, and Richard was like, well, we're going live. Are you okay? And I was like, sure. I mean, I talk for a living. I've been doing stand-up. At that time, I'd been doing it 18 years. And I was like, yeah, put me in front of a mic. But this was before podcasts. This was before all this stuff. And he was like, 3, 2, 1. And it was, older equipment. So he's cranking the thing, getting it going and all this. And I'm watching. It looks like he's getting ready. Frankenstein is about to come alive and all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, I'm alive. And I'm like, and I had never done an interview or a radio show or anything by myself. I had never, obviously we didn't have podcasts. And I realized, what do I talk about? And how do I talk to myself? And that was when I respected you. No, I mean, that wasn't when I respected you. Let me back up. Yeah. That added so much more respect that I had for you.
Yes.
Because you're great at that. And I was like, he was like 3, 2, 1. And I was like, Snuggies are weird. Man, I grew up in era. And I could not think of what to talk. And I had all these news articles that you and I were going to talk about.
Yeah.
But I'm looking through it, and I'm like, I got nothing. And I had to sit there and stall for about 20 minutes talking to myself.
Oh, come
I do want to let you guys know, I looked up what a tower is. It is a structure that's taller than it is wide.
Oh, okay.
It's taller than it is wide?
This is technically
So I'm a tower.
I'm not a tower. What am I? What's wider than tall? What do you call that?
You're a mini outlet.
You're not that far away from me to slap.
That came out too quick. I need to.
Yeah.
I do have to defend Cindy a little bit. This is probably one of the only buildings in downtown Conroe that is labeled at the top of it saying Conroe Tower.
Oh, I know that we can all buy a sign to say anything.
I kept saying there's this huge green letters. Where they got that green? The green letters that say Conroe Tower. You got to see that. And he goes,
but you know where I was looking for that sign? Up in the air. I was not looking at street level to see Conroe Towers. So, but yes, if it's taller than it is wide, this place is a tower. So we can go with that because this is a pretty wide building.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But now that we've made
that's how I'm going to label people now. You know the rest of the day, like tower, building, tower, building. And I'm headed to the gym after this. I am too. Just go with it. It's a good story.
Okay.
And I'm going to have a hard time not labeling.
Yes. Well, I love your shirt. It's perfect. It does show off your buffness.
This
and,
whole thing?
Yes, it looks great. So anyway, but I didn't mean to be late. I had to come from Willis.
It became a running gag, though.
I know.
It was kind of pretty great.
But the worst time was when I left Willis and got there and parked and realized that I had carried the garbage cans in my trunk, and they were sticking out. They were
like the ones that the professional garbage people pick up. It's not like a little kitchen trash can.
No.
These were the big industrial.
These are 35 gallon, I think, or something like
These
that.
were towers, if you will.
Yes. And they're sticking out of my trunk, and I just pulled the trunk down like that because I was going to empty them out. I was going to put them out by the road.
The end of your driveway.
It's 500 feet. Mm-hmm. So I found out.
'Cause she makes that kind of money.
What kind of memory I have was 500 feet. That was it.
Can I just stop you? Because I wanted to show what kind of memory I have.
Okay, that's the stroke talking. What?
I'm having a hard time understanding her. Is she saying that you put the entire trash can?
Oh, yeah,
your
two of them,
car?
right? Wasn't it two?
Yeah, two of them. And it was.
So you put the wheels in first, so the
back-
lid is just hanging
No,
out.
no.
outside
These are regular big trash cans that they gave us first, and now they gave us the ones that has the
floppy
flip.
lid.
Yeah, and they pick it up. The truck picks it
They're
up.
the big ones. They're towers.
They're towers, and so, but I put it in, the bottom first into the trunk, so they were both in there, and the tops were on them. Good thing. I don't know how they stayed on, but I drove all the way here.
with the trash cans in the back.
In the back.
Here's the worst part. She drives a Miata. So you would think she would have looked in the rearview mirror, but she's got that rearview mirror like right angled to her. Like,
What's even better
I'm getting
is-
ready for my show.
Say you're following her the entire way,
Yeah.
and then she parks and gets out, and you're like, oh, that does look like a person that would
Yeah.
put their trash
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Shut
Yeah, that adds up. That tracks.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to find that.
The great thing was you were able to find your way back because you left a Hansel and Gretel trail
That's right.
of trash.
That's
to
how I
get
explained to the police officer. But I got out and came in, and I just quietly told them about it, and it became like the thing. Okay, Cindy. So have you checked the trunk? And so I found out that all those people that were waving at me, I didn't know. I thought
You thought you were a celebrity
Oh,
going through
yeah.
Conroe.
I'm Cindy Cochran. That's right. Hey, and wave. But it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But anyway, back to you. Okay, so Bob,
Finally.
what? You're not writing a book or anything?
I just finished writing a book. Thanks for doing the research. This is great.
Well, I have to ask the questions. I'm going to tell you. You know about the book you wrote. So you're writing a book. You've written the book. Okay.
So there was a thing called COVID-19. I don't know if people are caught up on it, but it wreaked havoc on my financial ability to earn a living as a comedian.
No one was laughing, right?
Yeah. And I remember actually sitting in my office and I had my laptop and COVID had come out. And again, and the previous week I was sitting in the airport about to fly out and I'm looking and there's people walking through with masks. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these people, mask really. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm doing my last show ever for a year and a half, but I'm in the airport and everybody's got a mask on, and and I'm like, how quickly things change. But anyway, I'm sitting in March right before we quarantine, and 73 shows in a day and a half canceled. All my shows except for 2 for the rest of the year, and I was like, what am I gonna do? Because this is, again, we have 5 boys, and we're a blended family. So if people are like, is he really married 4 years? But yes, we are a blended family. And I have 3 amazing children, and then she's got 2. And no, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing.
They're all amazing.
Yes. And so I was like, how am I going to, support my family and all this? And again, I don't like to do interviews where I look like I'm bragging, but I became a 4-star reviewed Uber Eats driver. So
You did.
I did, yeah.
You
Actually,
did.
that's how I
And-
supported my family. I
Oh,
Uber
man.
Eats drove.
So did you do your stand up? No, your sit down.
I actually would. So one day I'd been doing Uber Eats driving for about 2 months, and I was in HEB, our grocery store, not a sponsor, and this guy walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, I know you." And I just had a dry bar comedy special, which is like a big deal drop, which is online for people to watch. And so I was getting a lot of people saying, "Oh my goodness, I just saw your dry bar special." And so he goes, "I know you." And I was like, "Oh, did you see my dry bar special?" And he goes, "No, you delivered food to us Sunday night." And I was like, oh, that's right. I'm an Uber Eats driver. I totally forgot about my other career. But the reason why he remembered me was because he had kids, young kids, and they were running around like crazy, and I was delivering their food, and they were like, food, food, food. And you could tell he was just at his like level of almost being done of being a dad. And so I start making the kids laugh. I'm telling them little, jokes and stuff. And so I did a little comedy set for them.
Oh,
and so that's why he remembered me, was because I was a funny Uber Eats driver.
So you didn't do just Uber, like somebody calls you up and wants to take you?
No, I didn't drive anybody anywhere.
You didn't?
I didn't want people in the car and any of that kind of stuff. But I could also, that really is how I supported my family for about a year. It was doing that, driving, and I figured out the times of when people would order. I figured out the areas and stuff. And I treated it like a video game. So I would get the destination, and so I would go get the food. I would jump on the freeway. I was like, it's like Grand Theft Auto. If I did it up here in Conroe, it was like Red Dead Redemption. But I felt like it was Donkey Kong, because I would do all these apartments all these towers.
Yes.
Where I would be running up these stairs and having to jump over trash cans and move around people and stuff. I was like, this is Donkey Kong. So I literally just made it into a video game of how to support my family. But here's a cool, I can say whatever I want, right?
Sure.
Here's a cool God moment.
Yes.
Where in 2019 in December, so I write this series called The Adventures of Average Boy for Focus on the Family. So I write this humor article in their middle school magazine, and it's all about this kid, Average Boy. And I've been doing it for 20 years. And I put out 2 comedy devotion books for middle school kids as Average Boy. So I've had these books out, and they're fun books. They're funny stories, but there's also conflict of what junior high, middle school kids are dealing with. And then there's devotion questions at the end. So those books have been out for a while, and they did really well. But in December of 2019, Focus on the Family contacted me, and they said, "Man, Average Boy just keeps doing well. We don't know if families would listen to an Average Boy podcast, actually sit and listen with their kids. So we want to try this. We don't have a budget. Will you do it for free? We want to do 13 episodes and see if that'll work."
For free?
For free. So I was like, yeah. And I won't say who, but somebody very close that I'm married to was like, "You're giving it away. Don't do it for free. What do you?" And I was like, "It's going to help book sales, and it's going to help the whole series." And so I wrote these 13 episodes, these podcast scripts, and they wanted me to do the voice of Average Boy, which was great because the first time we recorded, I wanted Average Boy because he's a middle school kid. And so I was like, "Hey, this is the Average Boy." I was making my voice like higher, and the producer was like, "Bob, no, we're good with your regular voice." And I was like, "Yeah, but he's supposed to be a middle school kid." And he goes, "Yeah, we're good." And I was like, "Okay." So we put out these 13 episodes. We had no idea if families would, and they're short, so they can listen to them on the way to the grocery store or to church or to school or wherever they're going. And we didn't know. We put it out. And one of their biggest podcasts, I won't say the name, but they have a very big ongoing podcast that does really well. And Average Boy competed and actually beat them a couple of weeks as far as downloads.
Oh, wow.
And so the reason why I'm mentioning all this is, so in March, I'm sitting there, I'm watching all my shows cancel. People emailing me like, "Hey, we're not going to have this event. We got to cancel all this." And Focus on the Family sent me an email that said, "This podcast, this Adventures of Average Boy podcast is huge. And so now we have a budget. And so we want to start putting out podcasts. And we want you to do a 3rd book." So during the whole quarantine, I wrote the 3rd Average Boy book. And it's not a comedy devotion book. It's just just a fiction comedy book for kids. And it is a whole year of average boy going to a new school and having to deal with bullies and new friends and all this kind of stuff. So it's like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, only way funnier. It was a quote I read online. That
okay,
I
there
wrote,
you go.
Whenever it first came out.
Well, and so when they said all that, and did you first, before they said anything else, when they started talking about you doing this, they didn't use the F word, right? Free.
Just for the podcast. And then whenever, well, because I've talked to you off the air, and so I know.
You know,
I mean,
I'd
I'm just saying, like, evidently Cindy was a sailor before I met her.
That is not
sometimes
true.
No, you're a very, very sweet person.
No,
I'm told to say.
Okay.
So no, so I did the podcast for free just to see if it would work, and then they were like, "Oh, we've got a budget because this is doing well," and then they started paying me and for the podcast and write the scripts for the podcast, and then to do the book. And so the book's out, and the book is doing it's called Average Boys Above Average Year, and it is doing really well. And so that was one of the things in the quarantine that I wouldn't have had time to actually sit and write like this caliber of book. And so there was a lot of positives.
There's a silver lining to the thing.
There was. I talk about that all the time. Like, people are like, "Oh, there's that whole year was terrible," and I was like, if you think about it, like, I got to know my neighbors. I didn't know my neighbors, but now the only thing my neighbor had ever said to me before the quarantine was, "Why are you in our pool?" That was the only thing he had ever said to me. And
I could imagine.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, he said, "Why are you in our pool, Bob?" Like, he knew my name. So, like, we are making progress with each other.
You are.
So there's positives for everything.
Oh, there are, I'm sure. But just being married not too long and then going into quarantine,
yes.
Does it really test the marriage?
Have you heard baptism by fire? Have you heard that phrase?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I actually said to her, like, right before the quarantine, I was like, "We're going to be at home with all our boys." And I said, "Man, I'm glad we're newlyweds, because, I mean, some of these marriages are probably not going to do well." And so what I said to her, I was like, "Can you imagine being stuck at home with somebody that drives you crazy?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's not great." And I was like, "Yeah, what? Wait a minute, what?" And she goes, "I mean, like,
wasn't talking about you, but
but we were home all the time together."
But I bet Trent was the best boy, right? He was so good.
Trent stayed in his room the whole time. Like, he really would, because he's an isolated kid anyway. So he really did. He would stay in the room, and so every once in a while he'd come out. And my wife is really funny, and so I remember one time Trent came out, and she was like, "Well, 6 more weeks of winter." He saw a shadow.
I love it. If you were having to think back and change anything about your routine that you go out and do, and like, do you wish you would have ever said, "I'm just a comedian," or was that never ever in your vocabulary?
As opposed to being billing myself as a Christian comedian?
Yeah.
No. I mean, because I like doing shows in churches. I like that families can come out and laugh. I like that they can bring their kids. I want that. So I'm a pretty outspoken Christian, so I want people to know, like, okay, I'm going to come to a show, but I'm probably going to hear him tell a story about him being in church, or a story about I'm trying to think through my act doesn't really have a lot of stuff about church right now. A lot of it is just about some of the crazy stuff that has happened traveling, because now I'm back traveling, and so now all these weird things are happening to me. So now I'm writing about all these stories and stuff that have happened. You would have loved this, because I am to the point where I have to take every show. So I had to take this show in Lubbock, Texas. No offense to Lubbock, but I landed in Lubbock, and I had to get my rental car. And normally there's a long line, but because nobody's there, I walk up to the rental car counter, and the guy's standing there. And I'm about to step up and give him my ID, but I also want to have it all out and ready for him. And so as I'm getting that out, this I was going to say lady, but not really. She, age-wise, she was a lady, but she was not a lady. She just cuts in front of me, and she throws her ID down, and she goes, "I'm late for a rehearsal dinner, and so I need a car now." And she just cuts in front of me, and the guy even looks up at me kind of like, "Do you want me to say?" And I was like, "No, it's fine," because I'd already thought of what I was going to say. And whenever she threw the ID down, she laid this frame that had, and I'm gonna forget the names, which I'm kind of glad because I don't want it to be traced back to him. But I think it said Andrew and Lindsay, just embroidered on this frame. She leaned that up, and she said she was late for a rehearsal dinner, and so she's rude to the guy. She gets checked in. She gets her car keys, and she's starting to walk away. And I go, "Hey, are you going to Andrew and Lindsay's wedding?" And she stops and she goes, "Yeah, who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm the guy that Andrew hired to do the wedding prank." And she's like, "What? No, Lindsay didn't want a prank. And I was like, "It's fine. We tested it. The silly string does not stick to the wedding dress. It's going to be great." And she's like, "What? No." And I was like, "You're going to be late." And she was like, "But you, like," and so she pulls her phone and she's running off. And I know she's calling Lindsay, like, what in the world? And I miss stuff like that happening when I was traveling all the time. So a lot of my stuff in my shows now are stories about me traveling or stuff of being quarantined with the family and stuff. So it's not like they're not going to get a huge gospel presentation when they come to my show and stuff. But I am going to talk about being a Christian.
Well, you don't think that, like Princeton or Harvard or anything, they might call you and have you come speak to any of the classes there, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about that. And it doesn't seem to be hurting people inviting me in because people see my clips, so they feel like, oh, he's funny, he's going to bring.
Right.
I did a show a week and a half ago in Pennsylvania, and they said 75% of the audience is going to be Amish. What they didn't tell me is the other 25% was Mennonite. So they made it sound like 25% was going to be, like people that would get,
regular,
bits about Chuck E. Cheese or, whatever story I'm telling. But it was a sea of bonnets. And they have and it's an outdoor tent, and they're the sweetest people in the world. And I've done shows for Amish people before, and they're great. So, but I'm like up there, and they have all their kids running around, and their kids would get up and leave for a little bit, I guess, go to, I don't know, milk a goat or whatever they're doing, and then come back in. And so I am up there and I'm doing an hour. So I am trying to find stuff that works, that's funny, that's, working with them.
Too.
And there were all these kids, and I have this old bit about going to Chuck E. Cheese that kids love. And I'm like, I'm going to try this bit. And so the bit starts with me saying, my parents took me and my brother to the, and then I act like I can't remember the name. I go, the Kiddie Casino, the place where kids gamble. And somebody always yells Chuck E. Cheese, and it gets a big laugh.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I go, the Kiddie Casino, the place where kids gamble. And it's like the first 15 minutes of your show when you don't show up. But like there's nothing. It's total silence. And I am like, so now I got to be my own straight man. So I got to go, Chuck E. Cheese. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, what am I doing? But I'm in the bit, so I got to. Yeah. And the bit worked because once I established where it was, then I could do, the rest of the stuff.
Right.
But it was just.
So you were having to do setup for.
Yeah, I was having to explain what Chuck E. Cheese was. So yeah, I'm not worried. If it costs me shows, it's worth losing shows over because I want people to know what they're going to get when they come to my show.
Well, I had experience. Let me share this real quick about whenever I was doing positive thinking seminars and talks and stuff, and people hire you, and you go backstage. You come in the back way. You go backstage, and you wait for them to call you out on stage. And my talk was all about individuality. And how different, why God made so much about everybody being different, every blade of grass being different, and going through all that. So we are all different. And I would, during the talk, I would have people just put your hands next to the ones next to you and see how different everyone is. So it's about my time. And I walk out and I pull the curtain, I walk out and I look around. And it's a convention or something of identical twins that are all sitting together, and I have to start with yikes. And so
we're all different.
Yes, we're all different.
We're all different.
Just
chant with me.
Turn around, look at the one next to the right, anyway. So but
know your audience is the takeaway from it.
I was so happy that I knew the part about where DNA is different because it's not different when the twins are born, but it's different. It forms to be different. And the child in the womb is touching the mother's inside the womb, and it gets the fingerprints that way. And so both of them have different fingerprints, but their DNA inside will be the same until I can't remember whether it was a year or what it was that it becomes different. But explaining all that just totally takes away from the fact that, hey, everyone's different, and they have to explain.
Yeah, your quick little anecdote turns into you got to have a pie chart. And you'll see, this is where the gestation period forms your fingerprints. Now wait for it, because I got a really good zinger here coming up in a second.
Know your audience, Bob. That is exactly right. And you always do. And I think it's great because teenagers think you're very cool. Mm-hmm. And you come across that way. You're not ever talking down to them, or you're never lecturing or anything like that. But they can go in and laugh at what you provide for them. And that's like amazing.
Yeah, when I first started doing stand-up, most of my shows were in youth groups. And I was like, man, I'm getting all these youth group shows. I didn't know because every other comedian was petrified to go in and do youth group shows. So all these comedians that were clean comedians that were trying to do church shows would pass on every youth group show because they were just petrified. And I would go in, I had booger in my act 3 times, so I was going to kill.
Oh, you're ready, yeah.
And so I literally stayed alive those lean years of doing stand-up just by doing youth events and stuff. And I loved them because I love seeing kids laugh. And I love seeing the tough kid come in and, he was like, I'm too cool to laugh. And I was like, if I can get him in the first minute and a half,
right,
then I've got the whole room. And I love that kind of stuff. But people are petrified of teenagers.
I think they tell preachers, watch your audience. Watch and keep count and track of what your audience is doing, because you sometimes get on these scripture bins and then you don't let them release from that. You have to give them stories. And I remember telling preachers, you have to tell personal stories. Personal stories connect you with the audience. Mm-hmm. And if you get out there and just give them scripture after scripture, it's not going to work.
Yeah. And if you open the can lesson and just here we go, and you got to be adaptable.
Now I have a huge reverse on what we're talking about right now. I have about 10 minutes left. Is that right, Richard?
This flew by. I thought it would be longer since we actually almost started on time this time.
That's right. Listen, I found a clip of yours, and I want to introduce this by saying there's a commercial on TV that I couldn't believe it when it came on. I felt like it took me back to when I was sitting in the living room with my dad in the 50s, and a brassiere, and that's what they called them then, brassiere commercial came on. I was so embarrassed. It's not like she didn't have it on. She had it on, but it was a model. It was a mannequin that had it on, and that was bad
enough. Which was risky for the time to show a mannequin with a brassiere.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And so I was just couldn't believe that. And we've come a long way since then. Mm-hmm. Women have really been empowered because now they're empowering them to poop on TV. And they're so proud of it. And they want men to know that women poop. And that's strange enough as it is, but everybody poops. And so these women are talking while they're on the toilet.
This is an actual commercial. Because you called me this morning.
Yes, I had to share this
to tell me how late you were going to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, is there anything you need to prep me on? And you were like, you saw this commercial. And so I pulled it up and watched this. And and I haven't seen a commercial in 6 years,
Yeah.
Because who watches actual commercials anymore? But I had not seen this. And it is an actual commercial where women are proud and they're talking about hey, I think it's 2022. Everybody knows that we do it, and and I don't remember what even the ad was for, but there's so many of those weird ads out there that
hear me poop. So
that's the thing. You can talk about anything now.
At the end, that's right. At the end of it, she goes, "Yes, I'm a woman. I'm pooping, and I accept this commercial. I approve this commercial." Mm-hmm. It was like.
My first thought when I saw the commercial, and I was on the phone with you, is I was like, my grandmother once wanted to poop on TV, but poop on a TV. It was when Jimmy Carter was given the presidential, but that was a whole different type of ad.
Yes,
I watched this and I was like, because I am fascinated, because when I first started comedy, I would write like, because everybody saw the same commercials.
Right.
And so I would write, there was a commercial on that said how to discipline your kid in 1 minute. And I was like send off for how to discipline. And I was like, they're going to mail you a belt. That's all it's going to be is like, right. But now not everybody sees commercials. And so I can't write comedy about this.
You're exactly right. And, but I was watching YouTube and I saw, because toilet humor is funny to me. I saw Toilet Technology, Bob Smiley.
Oh, my clip. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I went and watched that, and I just wish you could share that with us in person. Would that be okay? I mean,
yeah. So the bit, it started with, I was actually in a town called Weed, California. That's the actual name of the town.
Wow.
And it's a good place to do comedy. They love to laugh. They were laughing when they were coming in. In anticipation. But
easy
I was in Weed, California. I was at this church, and I was in, ironically, the green room. And there was a box on the wall, and I didn't know what it was. And so I pulled a chair up, and I stood up, and I peered into the box because I had never seen an automatic room deodorizer before. And I leaned into this box and I was like, "What do you do, little fella?" And then, like, it shot out this right into my eyes, which turned out great because my eyes were bloodshot, so I fit right in with all the other people from Weed, California. But that's what got me started thinking of like, oh, technology is everywhere. Like, because who can't pick up a bottle in a room and go, like that? Like, why do we have to have automatic room deodorizer? And so I started thinking of all the other technology that was like, we don't need. And so the toilet technology is, I don't like the automatic flushing mechanisms especially in airports. And I fly through airports all the time, and they have this electric laser eye beam that's right behind you that senses you. And if you lean, half a centimeter to the left or the right, you get a hickey. Like it automatically flushes. We don't need that. And so the bit is, I'm talking about like, we don't need it on there. There was nothing wrong with the old way. You used it, you stood up, you took your foot and you flushed it. You got relief and you got a yoga workout. Like there was nothing wrong with the old system. And now they put this electric, and the same way, I don't think I even did this bit, but with the automatic, motion sensing lights for the sinks and stuff. Where you're literally like dancing around trying to get it,
to get the right laser on your hand to release the water, and then you turn to get the napkin out, and I'm rubbing my hand back and forth. I said, my hand's gonna be dry before this thing lets it out.
You're like a Jedi,
and you're supposed to pull it out. I went, okay, old school.
Oh, you were looking for
I was looking for
the sensor, and it had the hand crank.
Yes, so it anyway.
Like this radio show is charged by. That's a callback, Richard. That's professional.
I have to tell you, though, that, Bob, you taught me a great lesson, because the church I used to work for, I would go find a bathroom to, I'm not going to say that word.
Powder your nose.
Yes, powder my nose. And be in there, and all of a sudden the lights would go out.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Okay.
So you said, Cindy, when you go in the restroom, and nobody's in here. And I said, no, nobody's here. And he said, you have to take the toilet paper after so many minutes. And
this was on my last DVD because of you. I totally forgot about this.
And you got to throw it across the wall, and it'll cause the sensor to bring the light back up. And I went, okay, that was great. And that has helped me with the church I'm going to now. They have that same thing. So if I get up during the middle of the thing, go in there, and the light goes off, I'm not afraid now. I don't think somebody's come in, turned off the light, and is in there.
I completely forgot. But that bit, so that was an add-on to the technology bit, the toilet thing, because our old church that you and I used to go to, so I would say to the audience, I don't know how long the automatic motion sensing lights on public bathrooms are supposed to stay on, but at my church, not long enough, because our church was set super. So you would get in there, and if nobody else came in around, the lights would go out. And I figured out that you could take a roll of toilet paper and toss it straight up. It would see it, and it would come on. And one of the funniest things was one time I actually took the roll and I tossed it up, and the lights came on. And in the stall next to me, I heard, "Thank you." And I was like, okay, this is. I had completely forgot about that.
But here's what you should warn people, is that once you throw that toilet paper thing, And then you go, wait a minute, that's the only toilet paper that was in here.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful about that before you do that.
forgot. And so I recorded that bit, and then I showed some influential people at this old church that we used to go to, and they made the lights longer. So I feel like my comedy has made a difference
that's
in people's
great.
lives.
Oh,
So
thank you
if
so
you go to
much.
this old church that we used to go to, you're welcome.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. So we're just about out of time. Isn't that correct, Richard? Richard is there. I can't see him because you took my seat. But anyway.
We'll get here early or
That's
on
true.
time.
Or on time.
Yeah.
That's right. See, I just wanted to tell people, though, who's coming up tomorrow. You have been wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, Bob. I know that you've changed lives. You've elevated some knowledge in some people, and I
Made
just
bathroom lights stay
appreciate-
on longer.
That's right.
I mean,
See?
it is
now
the
they'll
stuff
know.
that I have done.
Yeah, that's right.
with my comedy.
But tomorrow, man, now I'm losing my voice.
Tomorrow we're going to have Cindy's personal doctor in.
I'm going to interpret tomorrow. But Don Wilson is my Elvis connection, and he was like Elvis took him under his wing after all his family was killed in a train crash, and he was living with his grandmother, and they had met Elvis earlier, and Elvis felt so bad, and so he then became part of that. Not the mafia, but he hung around all of them, and he met everybody. He knows everybody. So he came to Channel 13, because he lived in Houston. He came to Channel 13, and he told me he had a crush on me. I'm sorry, Don. I'm going to have to say that. He had a crush. And so he got his picture with me and with everybody there. And so when I started the show in Conroe, he sent this picture and said, "Are you this Cindy Cochran?" And I went, "Yes." And he told me about being there in 73 or something like that. And so I said, "Yes."
1973.
Yeah, 19.
Not 18. Okay. I'm just trying to get a timeline.
Yes,
Cindy.
I'm sure. You're confused. But so anyway, I found out he knew all these people now. Now that he's been around them, he's had shows, he's done a documentary, he's just all this kind of stuff. So he calls me and says, I have some people if you would like to interview them. And I said, "I'd like to interview you, and I want to interview you and talk to you." So we talked and all that, and he tells me about all his experiences. And then he starts calling me and said, "Hey, listen, Larry Geller, who's Elvis's hairdresser, would be glad to come on." I went, "Great." And so I have him come on, and he told some weird stories. And so then he said, "I've got one of his Elvis's last girlfriends. You want to talk to her?" And I went, "Yes." "Oh, man, yes." So she came on. She was great. And so he started bringing all these people. And now Mindy's going to be on in a couple of weeks. And I've got Steve Bender. He's the one who directed the original 68 Comeback, and he's going to come on, and we're going to talk to him about the movie and all that. And so it's going to be, I mean, he's
This
just
is
sending
all for
me-
tomorrow?
No. But Don, my connection, is actually going to be bringing these people. So
if you guys
want
want to tune in, I'm guessing around 2:08, 2:12.
Two-ish is always good.
Two-ish.
I'm going to start putting that in my
You don't look two-ish,
Facebook.
but you know.
Oh, thanks a lot. Oh, boy. I'm just going to walk out of here so encouraged and so uplifted. Thank you. But anyway, if you guys will come back, it'll be great. I appreciate y'all joining us today.
And I didn't
this-
mention BobSmiley.com one time on the show.
Oh, you did not.
Yeah, I thought there was
BobSmiley.com.
a lot of restraint.
And I want to talk about Coulter opening for you, your acts. And so, will you come back?
No.
Oh, thanks. Okay. All right, fine. Anyway, he will be back. I'll make him. I got to get something.
Now that I know where the tower is.
Yes, that's right. Just follow the tower. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. And thank you, audience, for listening. And I love you all. You know, I do. Because mostly it's my family, people that are watching. Anyway, so I will see you tomorrow. You know, please stay with us. Okay, goodbye.